Hello again, and this is the Transmask Druid. In the first video that I posted, I had said that I wanted to take the channel in a bit of a new direction, and part of that is introducing some of the new paths I have taken in my craft. Um, One of the things that I have been exploring recently is what is known as seidr. Now, there are not a lot of sources out there that exactly define what this is, but I have found an excellent book that gave me a very good introduction to it. It is this one, there, by Cat Heath. First of all, the person's name is awesome, two of my favorite things. But it's been a really eye-opening book on a lot of the old magics of heathenry. But as to the definition of what seidr is, it says that there's conflicting sources and from the old Vikings but and an on lot was preserved just as with Druidry. But here it says that the seidr of the sources is a multifaceted art that included not only the elements of prophecy and seership that we see today, but also the manipulation of luck, weather, and the minds of others. Practitioners were also reputed to be able to find hidden things, both in physical locations and in the minds of others, call fish and game, and heal the sick. They could summon spirits for questioning and perform acts of shape-shifting. But as with all forms of magic, the same mechanisms that enabled the good could also be used to work ill. seidr was both beneficial and malefic, and practitioners were viewed with no small degree of ambivalence by those around them. The seidrona seems to have, and that is a woman who practices. The seidrona seems to have most commonly worked alone, but there were also those who worked in groups, most commonly with family members. And the author says that so far they've only been discussing female practitioners. However, there were also male practitioners. In fact, the earliest mention of seidr appears in a poem allegedly written by a seidr mather, a seidr man, by the name of Vitgir. Men who practiced seidr seem to have faced far more censure than their female counterparts, and there are multiple accounts of them being burned alive in groups. Ynglinga Saga tells us that the seidr was generally taught to priestesses because it involved great ergi, shame, abomination, for the men who participated. Unfortunately, the matter of ergi and why it was considered so shameful is still not particularly clear, despite many years of theorizing by scholars and practitioners alike. Some point to the fact that Olthan, a god particularly associated with seidr, wore women's clothes while using seidr. Others connect ergi to attitudes about homosexuality and social taboos against men taking the passive role in sex. Regardless of who was doing seidr, there was always the implication of sexual deviance and promiscuity. So that is where that is the definition of the craft, but also a bit of an explanation of why it was considered very taboo for anyone of any gender, but especially men, to practice this craft. And as fate would have it, I find the craft just as I truly begin identifying as a non binary man. But I feel like it plays into a lot of not only my gender exploration, but my exploration of my sexuality and my gender relating to it. Um, on that note, being that it was historically, how I mentioned the ergi, the shame, the societal stigma of the seidr matter being at the margins of society, well, look at where we are today with, in regards to the LGBTQ community, anyone deemed not sufficiently straight or cis enough is being attacked with a whole new furor, being pushed to the margins of society. So, with that in mind, I feel like it's fated that I find this craft right about this time, this point in time, and in this point in my life. Um, I am living alone. I can explore myself, my gender, my sexuality, um, without worrying of what my family can figure out about it. And I've started my gender transition about 3 months back, and towards the end of January. So my life personally and the world politically seem ripe for someone that is deciding to delve into the seidr. It mentioned that they're not exactly sure. Scholars are debating over exactly what constituted practicing the seidr. Um, if you were someone who stuck to the art of prophecy, you were referred to as a vulva. And how that sounds, it doesn't actually refer to genitalia, but it refers to, it means someone who, a woman who carries a staff. And I myself, despite not being a woman, have created various staffs. So again, there's another point of where I feel it's the right time for walking into this path. Um, the god that is traditionally associated, I said that Othin learned the seidr. Who did he learn it from? He learned it from Freya, who is a fertility goddess. And by practicing seidr, she was engaging in a bit of social taboo. See, even the gods invite a note of not being fully accepted in society by practicing the seidr. And so Freya and her different aspects of being a wild witch of the woods and teaching this art invites her own kind of slut shaming by practicing the seidr. And and then we get to the art of prophecy and divination itself. I am taking upon myself to learn the runes and have been working in bind runes. Bind rune is when you combine two different runes to suit a magical purpose. In another video, I will go more in depth with how I am working with the runes and coming up with the bind runes. But the runes itself are magical, used in a divinatory sense, and also they can be used in other spell workings. Let me just show you really quickly. One of the workings in the book that I did was to select a piece of wood that can serve as a spindle. And even though it's not actually spinning yarn on it, the symbology of spindles and weaving are very important to the seidr because, as mentioned, you can part of the practice can involve manipulation of luck, energy, and Norse mythology, kind of like Greek, involves the three old women in Norse mythology. They're referred to as the Norns, and one of them is named Weird, which it's spelled differently, Wyrd. And they are involved with spinning everyone's fate, including the gods. So, with that in mind, I created the spindle. The runes I selected on it are the manas, tier. Forgive me, I forget the name of the third one, but Stuart, as don't ask me why that name, where it came from. It just popped into my head when I was looking at it one day. So that seems to suggest that he truly did come to life, and he helped me name him. I did this ritual to bring him to life, to give um, to for Olfin's breath of life into him, to give him Orlog, which is his own story. So now his story begins as a part of my craft. And with the runes that I gave him, he's going to. My idea was to include protection, victory, protection, and manas for the people. So I intend, if it should ever happen that some big protest against fascism breaks out around here, I would find some way to wear him or carry him into that battle, and he would give myself and my allies protection and victory. So that was my rationale for giving him life and creating this ritual spindle. So, haven't done much so far with seidr, but my intention with these vlogs was to be a resource, because there's not a lot. I can attest to the fact that there's not a lot of information out there about this, and so a bit of be my own resource for anyone looking to learn about this, um, and to share even the tiniest bit of what I'm working on. So in another video in the future, I'll talk about where I am with the runes and fine runes and another practice of Norse magic that is known as the Galdr, which is magical singing, the singing and chanting of the runes, because I've barely scratched the surface of this. But I still wanted to show what I'm working on and show all of you. I don't know who is going to watch or care about any of this. I'm going to be posting the videos around, but to show anyone who might stumble across these, what I am working on, and a bit of my spiritual path and how it's evolving. Uh, Going forward, I'm going to delve into the runes, into the Galdr, and when Pride Month comes along, June, I'll go a little bit more in depth of how I explained the ergi, the inviting the stigma of being a seidr mather, and a little bit of my transitional journey and how I find myself as a non-binary man who is loving other men. But that is a bit of a glimpse into what I've been working on, with more updates to come with the Transmaster Druid.